This is the Team Objection podcast for January 30th, 2020, episode 423. As mentioned at the end of last week's show, it is time, for the first time in a while, to talk about the Suns. That's why Dave is wearing the right shirt. I have forgotten. I got new ones for Christmas that I have not had a chance to wear for this show yet, and I messed up. But
Shaun.
I have a Valley Boy shirt that I'm not even wearing right now.
And a new polo shirt.
Oh my god! And the long sleeve. I should be wearing the long sleeve.
I have a new sweater. So
Stop this. Stop the recording. Go back. Change.
Fuck!
But before we talk about the Suns, there's something else in the NBA world we have to talk about first, because it was a huge deal over the weekend, and it would seem almost empty not to talk about it. As Suns fans, we kind of had a love-hate, mostly hate, predominantly hate, 99% hate relationship with Kobe Bryant, but his helicopter crashed, and he perished over the weekend along with 8 others, including his 13-year-old daughter, and that's a major bummer no matter how you feel about Kobe. I mean, I hated Kobe on the court, and off the court, he wasn't exactly an exemplary human being, but at the same time, it is still a tragedy, and especially with knowing that his daughter was involved, that was what hit me the hardest.
Yeah.
No.
There were a few things. There's something about the fact that he's retired now, and I was actually starting to almost get to like him a little bit. Like in the NBA 2K19 video game, for example, he did some commentary on it, and his commentary is some of the best commentary on that game.
Yep.
Like I remember being excited for like Bill Simmons is on it, and his was boring. Honestly, it
Really
wasn't
bad.
basketball.
That's
It was
because
awful.
he's a trash human being. But
Fair. But when Kobe was on there, he was like, oh, this is actually interesting to hear what you have to say. You're a very well-experienced person. It seems like as he got farther away from his career, I was going to actually like him more and more. And it was awful that it got cut short.
Well, man, I mean, it's kind of the relationship with LeBron where he does some stuff that bothers me, but like I have a lot of respect for what he accomplished on the court. And I mean, he's 20 years with the Lakers and 5 championships and however many All-Star games and like
17.
It's crazy. And I mean, you got to respect that drive. I mean, he definitely had the drive. He wasn't just coasting on talent, which he also had.
Yeah. It is weird. It's one of those, especially I think for me, it peaked for me in 2010 when the Suns played the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, because I was so angry at Kobe the entire time because he was so damn good. He ripped our hearts out game after game that entire series. And it was one of those just like, I hate you, but damn it, I respect you type of thing, you know?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like there was a part of me that felt privileged when he actually did admit that, like, yeah, of course I hate the Suns. Of course I want revenge. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Cool, because we have a really hard time with you too. So I'm glad that you.
And at least somebody bothered to hate us.
Yeah.
Has anybody even thought about us except for like the gum on underneath their shoe the last decade? Ever
Yeah.
since then?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. This actually hit me really hard. I've never had a celebrity death that has hit me in the same way.
Yeah, I was all Sunday. I was just kind of in a haze almost, which is really weird because I'm the same way. Celebrity deaths really haven't affected me. Robin Williams is like the closest one I think for me, but like for the most part, it's kind of like, man, that sucks, and move on. Like I don't know the person personally, so it's just I can't let it affect me that much. But this one, like, I was in a really weird mood all day Sunday.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. That same here. I couldn't believe it at first. Like you hear the other ones, Michael Jackson was an example, and you're like, wow, that's terrible. This one, I was like, no way. Like,
I thought it was a hoax.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Well, the thing was, what was going to kill him? Why would he be dead? He's an elite athlete. He had to be in excellent shape. So, like, what would get... He's not going to have a heart attack at age 41. Unless he was on some substances we didn't know about. So, like, what was going to do it? Because with Michael Jackson, it was sort of kind of sad, but it wasn't like you didn't see warning signs or trouble where it was like, yeah, he's doing all sorts of recreational drugs and stuff. So when he died, you're like, I mean, yeah, okay.
That's
it wasn't
the thing.
like that here.
I've heard people talk about like the empathy, and it's almost like a protection mechanism for people. It's like the empathy that you muster for someone where you can say, you can start giving little qualifications. Well, you know, it's sad, but they were doing A, B, or C to bring it on. It's like, this was just like nothing. I mean,
nothing. He's taking his daughter to a basketball tournament. Like, he's being a good father, raising his daughters. Like, spending time with them, like there's nothing illicit about his actions, which happens frequently in kind of these tragic deaths, but this has nothing.
No, the only thing people could bring up were like, well, he was a rapist that one time. It's like, yeah, but that's nothing to do with his death.
No.
Dude, I got really mad at work. Someone wrote, we had like rest in peace Kobe, which is kind of weird. Someone wrote that.
Yeah.
And then someone put rapist next to it. And I erased it because I'm like, no, you
That's
can't.
not a...
It's inappropriate even if it was true. The fact that he wasn't even convicted, it's not a great look for that period of time for him. But you can't just go around calling people rapists.
But also, I always like the idea that people can improve, and that was 16 years ago that happened. So I feel like, the guy may have learned and grown since then, and by all accounts, he's been a fantastic husband and father for the last 16 years. So, I think he learned his lesson from that.
I mean, he almost got divorced from Vanessa back in like 2009, a few years after the aftermath of what happened in Colorado. So I think there was plenty of issues while he was playing, but it did seem like, by all accounts, after he retired, he was really switching to being family first. He mentioned in interviews it's why he wasn't going to be around a lot of the Lakers games, because it meant taking time away from his daughters. I don't know if that's enough to undo the sins that he had in the early 2000s, and I don't especially care because it's not my job to forgive him because he didn't do anything to me. If Vanessa had forgiven him, that's enough for me.
Right.
I know some people don't see it that way, and that's fine. Some people just hate him forever for that, and I can understand that because sexual assault is not a thing that you can just wave away after time. But I do think that in the immediate aftermath, I think 24 hours, unless somebody's like fucking Hitler, it's not something you bring up right away, especially when it's that. If he had killed himself, again, by doing something he wasn't supposed to be, fine. But if he's in a helicopter with his daughter and it crashes, I don't think it's the time to bring up the fact that something happened in 2004.
Dude, and I'm like, and I'm normal. We all are. We're very open about like jokes. We feel like humor is like a great way. People, I heard, it was rare. Most people were very good, but I heard some like people cracking jokes about it. I'm like, I got really offended. I don't usually, but I'm just like, that's completely inappropriate, and you are completely out of touch if you're making jokes hours after you heard about it.
Yeah, like did the pilot yell Kobe before he plummeted the helicopter down? You're like, what?
Man,
First of all,
I'm lucky I didn't hear any.
Yeah, first of all, that's the thing when you shoot a thing into a trash basket. That's all well known and it's great, and everybody does it, and that's fun. That's one of his lasting legacies, weirdly enough. But that doesn't even make sense. And also, yeah, somebody just died. And again, the daughter factor to me changes this completely. It's like, what are you doing? Forget everything. Even if you think Kobe is the most reprehensible person on the planet, his wife is now a widow, and one of her daughters is dead, and she has a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
So this isn't the time for your dumbass jokes.
Yeah, I heard it. It bothered me, which alone tells me that I'm in a weird place, because the fact that I got so offended, I was like up at night, like thinking like I'm going to say something that really bothered me. But anyways, I do have kind of a hot take, which I want to be careful with this, but I think it is from what I've heard. When you hear the tributes on ESPN, which is very nice, and of course they're going to do it. It talks about his accomplishments on the court, and that's great. I kind of care less about that, and that's definitely the least part about what's resonating with me right now. It's the fact that he was getting ready, seemingly with so much potential, to enter like Act 2 of your life. And you're always curious, like with these stars, they have a certain amount of time in their life where they can make money. And yeah, it's millions of dollars, but like, that's it. And then they got to go do something else. And, he won an Oscar, and he was really getting into storytelling. And I just thought that there was so much potential. I was really excited for that. And just to have it like yanked away is I don't know.
So Zach Lowe did a podcast with Ramona Shelburne and who's the redhead from the Rachel Nichols, just trying to sort through it themselves. Obviously, covering him so closely, interacting with him personally, they were trying to sort through things as well. And the one thing I thought that was really notable from it was the word that they described him with that they kept going back to was audacious. And it applied to his playing career, but it also applied to what he was going to do transitioning into this post-career that you mentioned, where he could have been an analyst. He could have done like what T-Mac and a lot of other recently retired guys are doing, Paul Pierce, and been phenomenal at it like he was in 2K. He could speak on the game with so much reverence.
Yeah.
But he didn't settle for something he could do easily, just like in his career. He went after something that he had no business stepping into, where he's like, yeah, think about all the notable people in film who have never won an Oscar. Mm-hmm. And Kobe had. Now, it was in a certain category, whatever. I don't care. The point being, he stepped into a field he had little experience in, and he dove into it so hard because that was how he was. And it was just the most recent example of his character, both good and bad, because he was slavishly devoted to whatever he put his interest into.
Well, and they talked about he kind of lost his killer edge, and this is meant to be a compliment. Like, as he stepped away from the game, that's kind of faded, and he's just become like a very personable, very present person. And
he's the antithesis of Michael Jordan, because Jordan could never lose that killer instinct. I mean, and from all accounts, like, his life kind of sucks in a way. He has no family that literally likes him.
Yeah.
And Kobe was the opposite of that. Like, it was really kind of reconnecting with his family and doing a great job of it.
Well, they were talking to him, and they said, like, what, do you care that you're going to get passed up or from LeBron, blah, blah, blah. And he was very gracious. And part of that is because he was like, I don't really care about my place in the game anymore. When I was in it, it wasn't about cementing a legacy. It was about the next mountain to climb. So, like, the championships and all of that. It was always about the next challenge. Now that that's over, the movies and all of that, that was going to be the next thing. And he could kind of step away from everything before that. And that's all the part is, like, it's so trite, but, like, it really reminds you of, like, man, an instant, and it's all over. Like, it's done. Any potential he had, his daughter, everyone else on that helicopter, like, it's gone.
It shouldn't happen this way, but the Jason Williams on ESPN said something that was kind of poignant, just about basically, if you got problems with your loved ones, big or small, just let that shit go. And, like, it shouldn't take this type of thing reminding him, but it's like, yeah, it could all be gone in an instant, just like you said. And sometimes, little small things that aren't going to cause problems, let them go.
Yeah, I mean, I hesitate to bring this up on the podcast, but the hell with it. We have 420-something episodes of being an open book. We've had a couple of issues on one side of the family the last couple of Christmases with folks just not seeing eye to eye on certain issues, and I don't really care who's to blame or whatever, but it was to the point where we actually didn't celebrate Christmas together for one of them, and I was fucking pissed. I'm like, we don't... my grandparents are both getting up there in years, but you never know. It could be me. It could be anybody in the family. It could have something happen out of the blue. You never know when your last chance is going to be, and it's like we are wasting a chance here because a couple people just cannot find some kind of middle ground for like 3 hours. And this is just another reminder about that stuff where it's like in the immediate aftermath, everybody's always like, hug your family, make sure everything's good, check with people, call them, tell them you love them. And that's all well and good. It's just I wish we could apply that longer than just the immediate window after a tragedy like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I guess the last thought is kind of Kobe's the legacy that he left, especially with the younger generation, really is intriguing to me. So recently I've been refereeing high school basketball, and I was doing a freshman game, so 14-year-old kids who were born after Kobe started and really aren't even that old considering when Kobe retired. They were talking about wanting to take like some sort of violation to start the game, and we don't have a shot clock or an 8-second violation in high school basketball, so they couldn't do it. But like they were talking about wanting to do something like that, which is almost crazy to me because that's the equivalent. Like a 14-year-old now is the equivalent of like Julius Erving for us almost, or somebody who retired, Larry Bird almost is that type of thing. So it's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah,
how that resonated.
Dan Lebatard was saying, like, not to take anything away from Kobe, I am shocked that how much this has seemed to transcend basketball, and the outpouring and all of that, and yeah, I mean that tells you the impact that he had, and the Mamba mentality and that whole thing. Like it was like a brand, and it did transcend basketball.
Yeah, so when I told my wife about it, she just literally said, "What the fuck?" Like she couldn't believe it. Like it was one of those that can't be right. I couldn't have just heard what you just said.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot of precedence for a death like this. You can argue about how big sports are to most people. Obviously, it brings people together overall. And Kobe was certainly a big enough name that he transcended the sport itself. But I mean, in sports, there aren't a lot of examples like this. I mean, Roberto Clemente, Roy Halladay was kind of similar, where he had just retired. He is a Hall of Famer now, but he wasn't a top 5, 10, 15, whatever guy like Kobe was. So it's just kind of weird. I mean, there's an entire generation of players that you can see now, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, guys like that grew up watching Kobe, that are now kind of like in the same boat of what the hell happened, what do we do? Like he had talked to them personally, he worked with some of them in the off season. So yeah, the fact that it had ripples throughout the sport didn't surprise me, but I too was a little bit shocked by like the turnout at the Staples Center I mean, there's just a sea of purple and gold, like flowers and ribbons and all that stuff. It speaks to how important he was to LA at the very least, because he played there for 20 years and never anywhere else. He was their star, and because it was so easy to criticize Kobe or hate Kobe, you could see that they kind of wrapped their arms around him, because, you know, when it's your guy being criticized, you never like that. You always want to push back on it. So I think all those factors combined, but I'm still with you, Dave. I didn't think it had this much of a resonance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm heartened to see all the tributes. 24 seconds, 8 seconds. That was a clever one too for Kobe's number. I kind of hope they continue. I don't know. Maybe it'll be over by tomorrow. But
the Lakers and Clippers game was postponed, so
tonight
on Tuesday. So yep. So, but world presses on still, and maybe more happier subject to talk about for us tonight.
Yeah. Speaking of Tuesday night. So, I think I even mentioned this last week. It would be interesting if we had actually done a Suns cast every week, because it's just been this up and down roller coaster, essentially, of they're great, they're decent, they suck, they're the worst. It's just, they've been all over the map. The last couple of weeks have been better. They've won, I think, 8 of 11, something like that. And tonight, Tuesday, as we're recording, they just beat the shit out of the Mavericks.
Yeah, we are transitioning to Sunscast, everyone. Sunscast! Boo, 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 boo! They curb stomped the Mavs just 5 minutes ago, actually.
Yeah, the final being a 29-point margin doesn't even tell the story.
No, we were up by 36 at one point?
I think so.
36 is the highest I think we got.
Holy moly!
We outscored them 48-22 in the third quarter.
These are the games I live for. This is what, like, everybody's like, oh, that kind of, like, I'm sorry. They almost say, like, because it wasn't a good game. I'm like, no, you shut up. You have no clue. This is what I live for. One, because it's so rare after, I mean, how many years? Well, I was talking with Chris, Dave, before you got here, and it was like, when was the last time we got to enjoy this? But before this season, being up double digits. Last time we were up double digits in Boston, we ended up losing that game last year. Mm-hmm. It's so rare. So I'm going to relish in every second of it. Plus, when it's your team, the thrilling games are nice, but there's a sense of calm and ease when you're winning by 20.
Especially with our record against in less than 5 points or like less than 6 point games. It's terrible. It's god awful. I mean, lost the Grizzlies by 5, lost to the Spurs by 2. We've had so many games where they're close games and we lose it in the end, and it drives me insane seeing our late game execution. So the fact that we're up by 30 and with 2 minutes left in the game is really, really comforting.
Yeah, and last year we don't win this game. Last year we don't beat. We beat San Antonio. We don't beat them last year. Hell, we hadn't for 7 years in San Antonio before that. Mm-hmm. So we're getting, we have frustrating losses to the worst team in the league sometimes, and that sucks. But we're also winning games that we had no shot of last year. We now are, with this win, we're over our win total last year.
We surpassed our 19 win total from last year, and it is January 28th today as we record.
Now, look, that's an extremely low bar to clear, but the fact remains we basically have a little under half the season remaining. And when you look at it, granted, we have the hardest schedule remaining in the NBA, but we're on pace to be right a little bit above what we were predicting in the preseason. Mm-hmm. 36, 37 wins, and we were all right around that range.
Which I think is a really good step, because a lot of the losses, I think, have come from the fact that our bench has been so god-awful. So bad. Partially due to injury. I mean, we've had a lot of injury on the bench. Fortunately, our stars haven't, Ayton really hasn't been hurt since he came back from his suspension and then injury. He's been healthy since. Booker's been healthy all season, knock on wood, stab a voodoo doll or someone else to keep it from happening. But so far, our starters are playing really well. Tonight we started Bridges and Oubre, which is a crazy change in the starting lineup, and it worked wonderfully. But again, the expense of the bench is the only problem on that.
Sure.
So I really wonder if you compare, it's apples to oranges a bit, but if you compare our starting 5 efficiency to that of the league, we have to be up there. Probably not number 1 because we don't have Anthony Davis and LeBron James on our team, but we have to be way up there on starting 5, efficiency, effectiveness, and then our bench probably has to be one of the worst.
Yeah, some of the per 36 numbers are the score like whatever the five, like the lineup on the floor, points per possession or something like that is, I would say, yeah, our starters have got to be really, top part of the league. I wouldn't say, top 10 even. But
I would
like,
say top 5.
I don't know if it's that high.
I'm going to go crazy.
I don't even know how to find
the hard
stat.
part is going to be like we
I'm
keep switching our starting lineup, so that's where it's hard. Like Bridges, this was one of the first times, maybe the first time Bridges started with Kelly.
I think it is the first time he started with him, yes, because he started before when Kelly's been out.
So it gets hard, but the point is we have a really good starting 5, which is like nice because we couldn't field a starting 5 last year. Well, we couldn't even put a bad starting 5.
And that's what's promising to me for this is that our starters are playing really well. We are right on pace to what we expected to happen this season. We're playing obviously much, much better. And our entire starting 5 is locked in for next year. Like, we have nobody that's going to be a free agent. We have nobody that's contract is coming up or anything like that. Everybody is locked in for next year. Oubre is, I guess, the only question mark is going to be a free agent after next year, but fine. And that means all we have to do this offseason is go find some solid bench guys. Maybe draft one, find somebody else. And then we can improve and really make a playoff push next year.
I will step in here to tell you what I found so far so I can switch the filter on this, but I can tell you that among lineups, 5-man lineups that have played at least 100 minutes together, which isn't that much, but it gets rid of all the nonsense, like we played 3 minutes and we were a +7. 2 Suns core lineups are in the top 5, 6. Well, they're 7th and 9th. Neither of those involves Ayton, but I'll have to check on those separately because I'm not sure about the minute threshold. But Rubio, Baines, Sharch, Oubre, Booker is a +6.4. This is offensive rating. They're 7th in offensive rating. And Rubio, Sharch, Oubre, Kaminsky, Booker is also a +6.6.
That seems. I mean, I get it. Especially with our start, we were really good to start, especially with that Rubio, Booker, Oubre, Ayton, Baines, and Sharch.
Here's why. I'm going to save you right now. Here's why. Booker, because he's an all-star.
I wish that I wish they were picking the teams tonight so we would know for sure and could spend an entire podcast on how Booker is finally an all-star. But I would hate to start doing this and not have him be picked on Thursday.
He has to be. I mean, he has to be. Because the one thing you could always say from the past is Portland is number 3 in the West for some reason. Again, no one knows why. So you got to maybe they get more representation. You don't have that now. We're ahead of Portland, I think.
That argument, I know part of it comes from fan voting, but that argument's thrown out of the water when Trae fucking Young is a starter on the East. He's a starter.
Sure, but it's the East, so that's,
yeah, I get it.
I'm with you.
That's a garbage team, an absolute garbage team this year,
yeah.
And we're throwing him as a starter when that was the biggest argument in Booker his entire career.
Yeah, who wasn't a starter? And there was some controversy. Jimmy Butler wasn't a starter, and it's because people hate you, man.
Yeah, and it's a fan vote, and you're unlikable, even though you're really good. And Miami's a top 4 team, so you should probably be starting. Here's the numbers on Rubio, Oubre, Booker, Bridges, Ayton, tonight's starting lineup, and the closing lineup for a decent amount of the games that Ayton's been back. It's +35.4 net rating.
Oh, that's good.
115.7 offense, 80.3 defensively. A lot of that attributed to Ayton, but also, Bridges and Oubre are both pretty lengthy, rangy defenders. It's in only 81 minutes. I don't think it includes tonight, which means it's only going to get better.
A lot.
It's also a small-ish sample size. It's only 81 minutes, but it doesn't matter. The point is that's probably the best 5 we can construct with our roster right now. But it also means the bench is completely vulnerable until we get Cam Johnson or Aaron Baines or both back.
Does it tell you where that falls compared to others? Number whatever?
To find this, I had to go down to just the Pacific Division. Let me clear that out and just do lineups that have played 30 minutes.
Okay.
I'm
super curious. Because, what a building block is okay, we're rough.
Ooh, is that the Pacific out?
We're not going to make the playoffs this year. But what a good building block. We get some bench help. God... Dave, tonight, for example, we get up, I think it was 10, maybe 15 points, and then our bench comes in, and it's almost gone. And that happens consistently where our starters almost sometimes at times seem to be toying with the other team. And then our bench comes in, and they lose that lead, and it's they have to start right back up. So it's expending more energy from our starters as well. And it's too much.
Well, I think getting those benches, as you mentioned, Cam and Aaron Baines back is going to help a little bit because at least Cam is a good shooter. We have a little offense coming off the bench. If Ty Jerome keeps stepping up, that's going to help as well.
That lineup is 5th in net rating in the NBA out of any who have played at least 50 minutes. Now, there's some Some strong cases up here, like you can see why Oklahoma City is where they are because their starting lineup is fourth. So they've played a bunch of minutes together because that's Chris Paul, Gallinari, Schroeder, Adams, and Gilgeous-Alexander. Weirdly enough, the Lakers are first, but not with Davis. It's LeBron, Howard, Rondo, Caruso, and Kuzma.
Interesting.
The Mavericks have a lineup up there: Hardaway Jr., Powell, Finney-Smith, Kleba, and Doncic. So no Porzingis. And Detroit is third with one of their weird bench lineups that's been killing people. But now some of those guys are starting because of the injuries they've had. But Derrick Rose, that's Keith Morris, Christian Wood, that McCalachuk, whatever the hell guy, and somebody. So anyways, one bench unit, but it basically means that they measure up because the team that's right behind them is the Clippers with one of their starting lineups as well. So, like, they're in good company.
So what you're saying is that Alex Caruso should be an all-star because he's on that number one lineup.
Yeah,
right?
he's on a more efficient lineup than Booker. So
yeah, so clearly Alex Caruso should be got it. Okay.
Yes.
What was also great to see. I mean, there's a lot to talk about when you blow out a team, but Ayton was getting points, and in the way that the fan base and myself, I won't separate in this case, has been bitching about for weeks. He wasn't just, having the table set for him and making the easy dunk. He was the aggressor. There's spin moves, hook shots. It was the aggressive Ayton that we've been clamoring for. And he had 31 points.
I can't. Is that his career high, or has he had a bigger game than his career high?
I can't imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's good to hear. He's been rebounding the hell out of the ball lately too. Tonight wasn't as great, but just overall, how can we keep? I wonder if there's a way. And that would be the best way, is if we can find the way. It seemed like Ayton had tonight this motivation because he's going against Doncic, and he's been the bust, and Doncic is this godly figure, and he came out tonight and kicked ass.
He dueled him, and he won.
I don't even know if that's the appropriate motivation because I'd have to double check the tape, but I don't think he played well against Dallas last year.
Yeah, no.
I remember one game in particular he flopped. Now, I don't remember every matchup last year. I have to check the tape. But I do think maybe because Doncic has taken a step forward this year and the noise has been louder, maybe that is different than last year. I think there's something to it, but I think there has to be more than just that.
My hope and my preference is that he's just learning. So he had a drive early in the game where he kind of almost shot it, and then he had I would categorize it as a clunky drive, but it was like he was thinking too much, but in a good way. It's like, oh, right, I need to be going to the rim. And then that started a deluge of him just going inside and using his footwork and being confident and all the stuff that we've been wanting to see. So I'm hoping it's a trend. I really do. It's not going to be every game probably, but start trending in that direction. That would be huge.
Yeah.
63 points between Booker and Ayton tonight.
Efficiently.
And efficiently. Yeah. They're out of, I think they shot 24-35 combined. Which is fantastic.
I could have sworn the Suns broadcast said that was a career high, but it's not because that game where he had 24 in the second quarter against Denver, he had 33.
Okay.
But still.
Very good game. Very close.
One of his best games ever, if not the best, because of the efficiency, because of the demeanor.
He it didn't happen a lot, but when Doncic was going one-on-one against Ayton did a great job defending him. Yeah.
That's a common factor we've seen is that Ayton is a surprisingly good defender against perimeter players. I mean, he guarded LeBron, he guarded Giannis, he's guarded Doncic. I mean, it's amazing how good his footwork is out on the perimeter that it's not a liability if he switches on them out there.
He actually, his numbers, advanced statistically wise, they're hovering in the elite ish range. Actually, I hesitate to say that, but he's been a really, really good defender. And again, a lot of fans are like, why isn't he putting up 30 and 30? And I get it, but he's also taken a step up tremendously on defense.
And that was his biggest hurt point back when he started. Everyone's like, oh, he's not a good defender. He's a negative defender. I'm like, not what I'm seeing.
And that's the thing. I think if you asked most Suns fans before the season what they would have wanted him to improve on the most, it would have been that. And yet it's discounted because his offensive game seems to be the same, if not maybe a little better. And it's like, yeah, but I think opponents are shooting 43% against him with him as the primary defender within 5 feet. That's not the best in the league, but it is, again, as Shaun mentioned, almost elite. I think Gobert's 39% or something ridiculous because he's just an outstanding defender. But the fact that he's in that conversation at all bodes extremely well for the Suns' future.
Well, and the thing is, I think, yeah, his offense have maybe just improved just slightly, but I'm okay with him getting 22 if he's getting 15 rebounds. That's almost more important to me because Booker can do the scoring. Rubio can score when needed. Oubre can be a scorer. We don't have to have Ayton putting up 30 every night, but if he's putting up 18 and 15 or 20 and 13, all right, I'm good. I don't really need
But
to
I
work
would
that.
say if it's the choice between like 25 to 30 points and 10 rebounds,
Mm-hmm.
or 15 points, 15 rebounds, I really liked what I saw tonight with the scoring because
agree.
it took pressure off of Booker, and you almost saw it. Like Booker came alive. He had a killer third quarter, and the gravity of someone else who can score the ball now. Like this was our vision for Ayton, is not having to have Booker do everything, and we kind of saw that tonight. And it's a one game, but I'm bringing it up a lot because it has been a trend for the most part since Ayton's been back. He's been scoring pretty well.
And I want to point out, too, that it's been a trend before tonight. You can see it in smaller ways than tonight, but still, some of the ways in which Ayton's presence on the floor opens up pathways for both better three-point shooting and additional just that gravity that you mentioned, where teams are forced to respect him when he rolls in a way that they weren't with Sharch. They weren't with Kaminsky. They sure as hell don't care about Chick Diallo. Like, that's very different. Baines as well. Like, there's just this different feeling when he's on the floor, and it's because teams have to respect him. Even when he's not having his best night, you still can't let him roll to the rim unchecked. And you might consider it with like Frank Kaminsky, because if he does get the ball on a roll, he's probably going to fumble it or spin around and do like a 360 layup and miss it, and it's just not the same.
Yeah.
And to be clear, too, like I want to preface this with a couple things. One, we're just coming off a huge win, so obviously we're all flying high right now, but none of us are like, yeah, we're definitely making the playoffs now.
I actually think we're not making the playoffs.
I agree.
I'm pretty...
I mean,
it's more of a pipe dream now.
As it stands at the moment, we're 3 games back. I mean, so it's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but you're right. Like it does not feel that this is going to happen unless we just go on a massive streak.
What is far more likely to me is we get passed up by the Pelicans.
Yeah, because Zion looks like the real deal.
I think the Pelicans are still a threat. I mean, I picked them to finish like I think 5th or something in the preseason. Now, granted, that was with a healthy Zion, and that hasn't happened, but like 538 and some other stats sites agree that if they stay healthy, they have the most potential. And I think the Blazers also have to be a bit of a concern because Nurkic is probably going to be back around the All-Star break, and that's going to fix one of their biggest issues, which is front court depth. I'm not saying they're going to make it either, but those are the 2 teams I'd be most concerned about. And there's only one of the team we can afford to jump because, as you mentioned in the beginning, like OKC has separated themselves now.
Yep.
And I do think that, well, actually, before I say I think this, let me ask you this because I thought this was a profound question. I was going to ask this whenever we did a Sunscast. Are you ready? If the West was only 7 teams in the playoffs, would it change your perspective on the Suns season so far? When what I mean by that is, if the West wasn't fucking around and having like a sub 500 team in the 8th spot, and the Suns were still 20 and 27, but they were like 7 games out of the playoffs because the West was, better in the 8th seed. Would you be happier with their performance even with an identical record? Has the taste of the potential playoff spot soured a little bit of their growth this season, or is it not a factor?
Not for me.
I think, if anything, it has... If we end this season by saying, oh, man, whatever it ends up being, we were close to the playoffs, and let's say we go on a losing stretch, we can still say halfway through the year, we were this close to the playoffs. I think it has only helped me. It may have poisoned some of the fan base, though. Yes, I will...
It's such a sad thing because all of us, and maybe we just follow it a little closer and know a little better, but all of us said 35 wins. Basically, that's what we're looking for this year. And we're right on pace for that. So none of us expected playoffs. Even after the great start, we were kind of like, this isn't going to continue. It'd be great if it did, but we'll see what happens. So the fact that we're close to the playoffs is almost to me just like the cherry on top. It hasn't soured anything for me. It's just that, hey, we might have a shot at this. That'd be fantastic. But if we don't and we finish in the 9th or 10th spot, great. I'm glad that we made this progress this year. Kind of like the Kings last year. We just need to build on it.
Yeah, and something I want to bring that up because when I'm feeling cynical, I'm like, we have no future. No one's ever going to want to come here. And when I'm feeling optimistic, I'm like, this is a great building block because we start to become a more attractive destination. Mm-hmm. So my question is, for the big free agency year of 2021, who do we, if, Devin Booker coming off his 2nd All-Star appearance, us hopefully building on this season with more wins next season, although, again, with the Pelicans being so good, it might not even happen. But if we can position ourselves well enough, who's someone, if not on the S tier? Giannis isn't coming. He's not going to leave Milwaukee to come to Phoenix.
I mean, we keep kicking his ass every year, so maybe he just wants to join us.
Yeah, totally.
Those are dangerous words with the game we have coming up here very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to make you eat your socks, man.
The Bucks are like plus 13 point differential. I don't know if that's been done in NBA history.
Yeah, they're kind of killing it right now.
It might be historically good. We'll see. To your point, here are some of the free agents that are available in 2021. It's almost a little bit ludicrous to look this far ahead. There could be some extensions or player options that tweak this, but, just considering who might be there. Kawhi Leonard, 75-year-old LeBron James.
S tier.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
S tier.
Paul George.
Probably
A tier.
A tier, sure.
I would say S tier when healthy, but his injury history makes it probably A tier. Jrue Holiday. Bradley
A tier.
Beal. Rudy Gobert, who I don't know how he fits with Ayton, but I'd love to see it happen.
Yeah, right.
75-year-old Mike Conley.
Please no.
One and a
He's
half.
Actually like 30, I think.
Yeah. 1.5-legged Victor Oladipo.
Let's see how he comes back.
75-year-old DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
No.
75-year-old 1.5-legged Blake Griffin.
100-year-old LaMarcus Aldridge.
What?
Yes.
Hold on a second. How is Blake Griffin? Does he suck now? Like he's in the East, so like I don't follow him as much.
He's this says here this year he's averaging 22, 8, and 5.
That's not that good.
It's not. Oh, this is actually that's 22, 8, and 5 over the last 375 games he's appeared in. So that's a long sample size there. I'll have to check his stats this year.
If for some reason Anthony Davis picked up his player option, and he wouldn't, and he's going back to the Lakers, but he would be a free agent that year. Chris Paul, if he declined his $44.2 million option, would be a free agent that year.
Yeah, I don't want him anyway.
Yeah.
Gordon Hayward's interesting. I would imagine he's not going to decline his player option, but if he wants to secure a long-term deal, he might have to. And he has played well this season.
Real quick. Blake Griffin's 15 and a half, 4 rebounds a game and 3 assists a game.
Oh,
So
He was having a bad year. He was never playing heavy minutes. He was never fully healthy. So I wouldn't look in the numbers too much, but the bigger issue is he just can't stay on the floor.
Yeah.
he's only played 18 games this year. So
I mean, those are all S-tier guys. Now, there's some other folks like a Yusuf Nurkic, Josh Richardson, some guys that could be really handy players to have in the rotation. Will Barton, Justice Winslow, Evan Fournier.
Fournier, I mean he
I
kills
like that
us
off
every
bench.
time.
Not last game, but
Right.
yeah.
And because that draft class was good, except for our pick, there's also going to be a lot of restricted free agents that hit. Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, Lauri Markkanen, Lonzo Ball, Bam Adebayo, who's not going anywhere, Kyle Kuzma, et cetera, that also make that very interesting because that's tougher than regular free agents, but they are guys you could make a play on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's just a ton of huge names coming, and we don't really need a bunch of them. We can only really afford one of them. We just need one.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at what's upcoming, and this is just kind of all, just kind of, rough around the edges. We potentially have about $20 million in cap room this upcoming year. So, I mean, that's a decent free agent to sign, but we're definitely not, signing a big name with that.
And we're probably not signing a big name anyway. I mean, I just love, what's his fucking Ryan McDonough is like, we got to protect our cap space. It's like, great. For what, man? What are we going to spend it on? What are you doing with the money? It makes me so upset. Well, it's okay. We lost a lot of good players. We traded some picks. We made some bad asset management, but we have our cap space. We have protected the cap space. Like, wow, sure.
Thank God.
Thank goodness.
You've seen those like mock uniforms that people have made up where it says cap space on the back. It's like, yeah, great cap space. That's gonna sell the fan base.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so depressing.
For who? Because it's not going to be, unless it is a Steve Nash, where that was a huge risk. It worked out wonderfully, but everybody was like, half of the people are like, he's over the hill, can't stay healthy, he's going to decline, and he was the exception to that rule. It's going to take someone like that. Giannis isn't coming to Phoenix. He's just not.
But I want him to.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
If the Suns won 50 games next year, which is just the most giantest if, but if they did something like that next season and they made the playoffs as like a 5 seed and they were continuing to show that upward mobility, maybe a top tier free agent would come here then. Because it's going to have to be that way. I mean, it's not like we're going to lure them here when we suck.
I know, but like chicken and egg, it is a chicken and egg thing, but I really do think in my head it's the chicken preceding the egg of we need to get the star before we get anywhere close to winning 50 games.
Which, I don't know, the way I see this is that with the way our starters have been this year and the fact that our bench has been so god-awful, if we could shore up that bench and just have it be a net zero, or maybe
even,
just a
even
small
net
negative.
zero, yes.
Yeah.
Like as long as you're just like not destroying any semblance of a lead we might have, and the starters come back in and we can take leads, like then we could win upper 40s in games
It's
next
like
year potentially.
they are hemorrhaging points. It's like I'm playing 2K and I'm trying to sabotage my team for some reason. I don't know why I would be doing it, but that's what it feels like. How sometimes can you blow a lead that fast?
Mm-hmm.
It's like bad shots, bad defense, turnovers. It's crazy. I really do think the three of us could go out there and maintain, bleed less quick than our bench.
Yeah, I get the sentiment, but no.
Dude, I just give me the ball, hold it for 24 seconds.
That would be better than what they've been doing.
Yeah.
They've been like a net minus 30 or something since Booker's been off the floor in the last 12 to 15 games. And the thing I don't understand the most is that they're getting worse defensively. And it's like, for all of Booker's faults as a defender, without him, they're even worse.
Yeah.
Just because the bench is that horrendous.
I feel like Booker's been adequate this year.
No,
right?
he's
been
when
okay.
he tries, he's pretty good. But then like the whole team will take off entire possessions or games, and that's what really hurts.
Yeah. I gotta say, it's been really nice not already looking forward to the draft.
Yeah. Meaningful basketball.
Like the fact that I'm sitting here in January, each of the past few years I've been just kind of like, well, okay, lottery coming up. Let's see what we can do. Let's hope, guys.
2 pillars, right? Entertaining basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to block the light. And meaningful basketball. We have both right now. And even when the meaningless falls away, or meaningful, did I say meaningless? I meant meaningful. Meaningful basketball, entertaining basketball. Even when the meaningful goes away, it's still going to be entertaining, which is like a huge step up from last year, which was shit and shit.
Well, and that's actually the fact that there is such a clusterfuck at the 8th seed right now is actually kind of it will help us, I think, because we could stay relevant at least into the end of March potentially. Where we're like, hey, we're only 3 games back. Like if we can hold that within 3 games or so up to the end of March, it's like, okay, we got a shot here. And we get obliterated by the Lakers in the first round, but that's okay.
Dude, if we made the playoffs, I wouldn't even care if we phone in the 4 games. If we didn't even show up, that's fine. We make the Lakers fly to Phoenix.
If we don't show up for the playoffs, did we make the playoffs?
Yes.
In name only.
But yeah, I mean, we're going to 2 games again in the beginning of April. There is a real chance that those are at least somewhat meaningful games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is
what a world.
2014 was the last time that happened, and before that, 2010. Really,
it's the perfect storm. It's the 3rd and 4th last game of the season, and what it represents is either A, we'll be a playoff team by then. I severely doubt that, but then we'll know they're playing basketball on the stretch to maybe fight for a better seed or something. Or B, we're on the cusp of the playoffs, and maybe there's still that outside chance of sneaking in if you win out or something, so the games will be important. Or we'll be out of the playoffs, and the tickets will be cheap.
So win-win.
It doesn't matter what happens. They're all good outcomes.
Do you know what would suck is if, for some fluke, it does come down to like the last game of the season, which is L.A.
Yeah, but they're not going to be playing anybody.
Rips our heart out in the last game.
They won't play anyone.
The last game of the year, they'll have their 1 seed already wrapped up. Like
I can just imagine Frank Vogel being like, I know how much you hate Phoenix, LA. And we're like, what? There's no one even on this roster anymore that we care about.
Why?
Kobe was the only one.
Come on, man. Yeah. Man, that team, what happened to them? It's because they sucked. They had Kobe and no one.
Are you calling Smush Parker a no one?
Yeah, Smush Parker.
Luke calling Kwame Brown a bad
Luke Walton, Kwame Brown, like Christ.
Sasha Vujicic.
Oh God, he is the worst.
Yeah, there was a name I thought would elicit a response.
Oh God! It was so satisfying when Goran Dragic was that guy that got under
Yeah, just we get it. We
Vucevic's
know what you're talking
skin.
about.
Yeah. Pre-coma Lamar Odom.
Yeah, this Ron Artest was on the later teams. Yeah, they had a terrible team back then.
Meta
Just-
world peace.
Yeah, I won't call him that
Oh.
ever.
Yeah, I kind of wish, like, Lamar, if you were going to go crazy, couldn't you have done it just, like, a little sooner? Because he was maybe his best in that year in those playoffs.
Especially the 2010 year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
he did his fair share in killing us.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went crazy. And I'm like, well, next time, just go crazy first, and then we might have a title.
Yeah, and I'll be rooting for you to make a comeback more because you went crazy when it mattered to me, and then it doesn't matter anymore. So, like, yeah, I hope you come back from this. Yeah.
The Super Bowl is here, and it's like Kansas City. I'm rooting for a lot because I see like the Suns in them. They like haven't been in like 50 years, and it's like San Francisco is looking for their 6th, and it's like, I kind of like San Francisco. I always have, but like it's too much. Let someone else win.
Let the beleaguered franchise that hasn't won a championship in 50 years. Come on.
That's what I
You can
always
do
root
it.
for, and it's exactly because of the Suns. Yes.
What must that perspective be like of we've won so much and now we're just adding to the legacy compared to like we just it's been 50 years. It's been more than 50 years. We just want like
I'm born and raised in Phoenix. I have no idea what winning feels like consistently.
Yep.
None.
well, championships.
I mean, yeah, the Suns have been competitive forever until the 2010s happened. But yeah, championships. We've got one as a city ever.
And I don't care. Yeah, that used to make me feel better. The Diamondbacks. I'm like, oh yeah, I realize I don't give a shit because I don't care about baseball. Like, oh well, your basketball team's bad, but hockey's won like 10 champions. It's like great. Is that the sport I care about? No. Then I don't care. I'm not like a Phoenix fan. I'm the Suns fan.
Yeah. Well,
if Devin Booker was also a baseball player, then I might care more. Well, at least he had some success in the MLB.
No.
But he's not. So I really couldn't care less.
So we're not even going to make like predictions at the end of this or anything. It doesn't matter. We're just enjoying the season, and it's sad that we're enjoying a 20-27 season. But by God, it's so much better than the last 10 years that I don't even care.
How could we not? Like, we just won by 33 tonight.
Yeah.
I think 2027 season for any team really is like, unless, I don't know, you were thinking you were going to win the championship. And
If the Clippers were 20-27 right now, they'd be burning down LA.
okay, yeah. That's true.
So
I actually wanted to kind of revisit. We're going to do this at the end of the season, obviously. I wanted to revisit some of our predictions. We don't have to do that now. Maybe the next time we do the Suns cast. But Utah stands out to me as I was pretty down on them. I thought they were going to be like bottom half. I thought they were going to make the playoffs. But no, the 2 seed. The last time I checked.
I think they're down to 3
half
now.
a game back. Yeah, the 3 seed, half
But
a game back.
They're right there because they've been on a tear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I was super right about them, but New Orleans, and yes, Zion, but even so, New Orleans looking pretty wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Looking pretty wrong.
So there's some interesting things.
I think we talked about Portland and San Antonio being the teams that would fall out of the playoffs, though, and as of right now, they are because they're both like 2.5 back of Memphis.
I didn't know that. I didn't know Portland was going to be this bad, though.
Well,
They
a
got
lot
the
of injuries.
identical record as us right now.
And also, well, okay, but still, I mean, you got to think someone brought it up. Their overtime game, Golden State and Portland. It's like this is your Western Conference finalists.
And it was awful. I watched that overtime because
Yeah.
I turned it on to watch Portland lose, and I was sorely disappointed because Dame Lillard took over. But it was terrible basketball, and you're right. Yeah, how the mighty have fallen in 6 months?
Yeah,
Yeah, although I gotta say the Warriors scare me next year. So when they get Clay and Steph and a top lottery pick.
and if they can find a way, which is unlikely, I would say, but like if D'Angelo Russell's been playing well, if they can find some way to work him in, like they're kind of dangerous. They're at least hovering around where they were when they won the title. They don't have some of the role players that. It's a really big deal, the ones that they had, but
They have 4 guys who have been all-stars within the last 2 years. In Draymond Green, Seth Curry, Klay Thompson, and D'Angelo Russell.
yep.
And they've played, 60 games combined for the 4 of them
Yeah.
this season?
Yeah,
Because
combined.
Steph played like 8, and Dre's
Yeah.
missed like 12 or 13, and D'Angelo missed a stretch, and Clay hasn't played at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, they could be very scary next year. So
So they're probably going to be right back into the mix at least because they have a very good culture there. OKC has surpassed all of our expectations.
well, because Chris Paul apparently still can play basketball. Who knew?
Yeah, it turns out as a secondary option to James Harden, he doesn't look quite as good as he might still be, even though he's getting older.
Yeah.
So last question then.
Okay.
Is there any scenario where today, as of Thursday, Devin Booker's not an all-star?
Yes. Not in the realm of logic, but in the realm of where the Suns and the league just loves to fuck us. Yes, I could see him getting a snub.
I mean, I hate to agree with you, but yeah, I could absolutely see him getting a snub because somebody like Karl Anthony Towns deserves it. And it's like, well, we can't leave Cat off the team. Look how good he is. But there's just the West is so full of talent. You know, it's amazing to like on the surface saying like, yeah, Devin Booker should be in over Paul George. Like that sentence is like, wait a minute. Paul George is, kind of like superstar level, but Booker should be in over Paul George. No doubt about that.
My question is, do the voters at this stage, whoever selects the remainder of the people, which is just like, is it the coaches and
I think
people
it's
voting?
coaches. I think it's just coaches.
Are they looking at things like how efficient he's been and some of like the advanced metrics? Are they like, oh, Paul George, I know him. Yeah, put him in.
I think the way that these are picked is like the guys that they see these guys, they watch them on film, they know how they play. So I think they're really looking at how efficient Devin Booker's been, how much he's scoring, and like how much work they have to go into to try to stop him. And I think he's going to get selected because of that.
How many games has Paul George played?
15.
Trivia question.
15 is my guess.
No clue. I would have guessed more than 15, but I honestly have no idea.
26.
Okay.
That means he's missed 22.
Yeah.
And yeah,
He can't be an all-star.
No, he can't be an all-star missing half the season like that.
You just can't do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
He's been
I
really
agree.
good when he's played, but if you reward that, I don't know what we're doing anymore.
Yeah.
Russell
Yeah.
Westbrook shouldn't be an all-star.
No,
No,
not at all.
yeah. But that's what concerns me. It's like, oh, yeah, Russell. Oh, yeah, he's good. He won the MVP that one year. Yeah, all-star for sure.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
specifically, that's how Devin Booker misses it. If Westbrook gets a spot, I don't think there's room for Booker anymore. Because Lillard's a lock now. He put up like 46 and 60 last week. He was probably already a lock before that, but he's a mega lock now.
Which I almost maybe now I'm starting to drift into like Homer territory. I'd take Booker over Lillard personally right now.
It's I mean, yeah, that's probably a little bit homer, but I mean, it's not. You're not wrong in saying that. Like, in previous years, it might be like, yeah, definitely Booker should be in over Lillard. And someone look at you like you're insane. But this year, yeah, I mean, his efficiency numbers. The only thing he can fight for Lillard is that he's carrying the team to a mediocre record, but still, he's kind of their only option right now.
Yeah.
Which was our Devin Booker argument for years. So
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. That would be my point. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, great. Welcome to Devin Booker for the last 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if tonight's stats are in here, but Booker 51, 37, 92 on his shooting splits, 27 a game, 6.3 assists, 4 rebounds. Like,
How is that not an all-star?
Well, what is Lillard averaging?
pretty close to that.
While you look that up, I have another question. Hypothetical. If Ayton has been playing the last 2 to 3 weeks, if he had played the whole season at that level, would he be
No,
an all-star?
not even close. I've seen
And-
a few people floating that, and absolutely not. Keep in mind, the only reason Booker's hopefully probably going to get a spot is because, like, no Clay, no Steph, and no Paul George, who's probably a front court player, but has been slotted at guard at times.
Well,
There's zero chance there's any room for Ayton in there.
Well, I was asking because does he get a spot in the not? Well, I mean, maybe it's overcrowded too, but because it's a different position.
No.
Because then you have
He's not
Cat.
he wouldn't get an over Cat.
No, and he should.
I think Gobert, if he's not a lock, he should be.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Anthony
overdue.
Davis, yeah. The front court is low. The West is just stupidly loaded.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing looking at the last man off for the West and the last man off for the East, where the East is like, what about Zach LaVine? It's like, he can't defend a fucking rock.
Yeah.
But he scores a lot. Well, it worked for Trae Young, I guess, so yeah, let's put him into.
Well, so then I will ask, what would it take for Ayton to be an all-star?
an entire season of even more than what he's doing now. I would say with keeping that defense consistent. And
Well,
maybe
but
just
so,
having
I mean,
kind of the eye test too. I think is what's going to be as sad as that
sure,
is.
but like, throw out some points. Like, what is Cat when he was healthy? He was averaging 20.
He was I think 50, 40, 90, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's a great shooter in 26 a game or something like that. I'm gonna guess.
He's like third in three. Well, he was at one point third in 3-point shooting in the league. Like
He's good.
I love Ayton, but the best version of Ayton, at least this season, wouldn't be better than Cat.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if he'd played every time.
But that's my. It's like he doesn't have to be better than Cat. I mean, Cat is like
Cat 27 a game, 11 rebounds, 4 assists on 51, 41, 81. So the free throws are down. But
no. I mean, he's unreal.
his defense sucks.
But like,
But Dave doesn't care about that because he has him for fantasy.
I mean, who are some more like LeBlanc Aldridge? Is he going to be an All-Star this
No,
year?
absolutely
Oh,
not.
thank God. Who are some other big men that are going to nab some spots?
Davis, Jokic, Cat's in the consideration, Gobert.
Okay,
all of a
those
sudden
are-
that's 4 centers.
Those are all really good.
There's the problem. Jokic is an automatic. Davis is an automatic if healthy, and Cat, who's not making it, is because he's on a worse team than Booker. They've lost
And he's
10
been
straight, and
Yeah.
he missed like 12 games. So no, there's no scenario where Ayton makes it. Lillard, by the way, 28.8 points on 46, 38, 89, 7.7 assists per game, and he's dragging everyone's injured carcass, whatever.
It makes sense that his shooting is down a little bit this year, just for the fact that he does have to carry it. He's kind of takes some tougher shots.
And he's about at his career average, to be honest. So
Yeah.
he's used to chucking at high volumes.
So what do we do if Booker is not selected?
We have an emergency rage podcast, and it's next week's show. Just
Got it.
recorded early.
All right.
Because, we as Suns fans, we feel slighted pretty easily, and this is going to be another case where I'll be like, what are you on?
And when he's selected, just take a big sigh of relief.
And 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have thought it was a certainty. Now I don't know how you don't put him on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Russell Westbrook, man, if he gets it. I like him. I like him more than probably anyone else on this podcast, but
I don't like him.
yeah.
I don't like him.
But I mean, this year he has not been very good.
He's been putting up numbers ever since teams just decided to double team James Harden every single trip down the floor.
But
And
I mean, but that right there is like, okay.
Turns out that given Westbrook a 4-on-3 situation where he gets to go downhill with his speed, it makes him look pretty decent. 26 a game he's up to now. 8 rebounds, 7 assists, shooting
On what
23% from 3,
Well, right. Like, what is
God.
his shooting percentage?
45 from the field, which is higher than his career average.
Yeah. Still.
4.4 turnovers a game. Somehow those are up.
I'm hoping that the Rockets slump
Oh.
will help us.
He had 10 against the Nuggets on Sunday. That's part of why. So, yeah, I mean, when you look at the bench, it's like there should be a spot for Booker. They have to take 7 guards to do it. And, again, if Steph or Clay was healthy, he might not even have room still. But given the injuries that have happened, Paul George too, if he doesn't get in, I don't know what we have to do. I don't know what he has to do. So we'll see. Hopefully it won't come to that. Hopefully it'll just be named that. And then next week on the show, we can celebrate it briefly and move on to some other topic. But
I have a topic. I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Well, hopefully we're not doing a rage podcast next
We
week.
are. We are. It's a rage podcast no matter what because I'm attacking internet culture.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a rage podcast one way or the other. So look forward to that, folks.
I like that. That'll be an easy subject.
Yes, it will.
I like how we're going to have to be raging even if Booker gets in, though.
Well,
Shouldn't have taken this long.
Exactly.
He's so good. Alrighty, so that'll be next week. It'll either be a Devin Booker cast where we all sob/rage collectively, or we'll rage about other stuff, and it'll still be entertaining. You should tune in either way. In between shows, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com, on social media at Team Objection, at youtube.com/Objection Network for new videos every day of the week, and you can send emails to the show to objectionnetwork@gmail.com. See you next time.